Hey. Well, as you can see, the collective consciousness of this group is rather extraordinary. I'm still humbled by Jess's opening demonstration of an awareness of the spirit. God, what a blessed old soul she is. You cannot write like that unless you have longevity of cosmic consciousness. And with that, let me do my own diatribe. Quote, to avoid that run-down feeling, look both ways before crossing the street. Unquote, Soupy Sales. God bless Soupy Sales. The need to be constantly entertained and spin-fed when block, linear, self-dual, error-correcting codes are what we should be tuning ourselves in complete symbiotic immersion, recognizing our consciousness as continually fully integrated. One mainframe, one singularity. There is a hospitaller motto, tuitio fide e obsequium pauperum, defense of the faith and service to the poor. I prefer a broader dictum, tuitio fide e obsequium, defense of the faith and service. I live by the dictum, carpe diem, seize the day. I walk outside into the stillness, greeted by a sudden gust of wind showering me with leaves and seed pods from a maple tree, helicoptering down like confetti during a celebration in gold and light as the setting sun begins his intimacy with the horizon. Alone within this singularity, I feel your presence, knowing you are communicating with me, comforted by your well-being, the stars and planets aligned and squared, assuring me of this. Beneath your stone, I sit with you above in silent conversation, longing to share your heat as during our many side-by-side vigils. I know you are looking after me, as you always have. It is with a purity of heart, indelibly unique and familiar, one I so find comfort in, as reliable a collaboration as the shared benevolence, as the dusk and dawn. I touch the inside digit of my pinky's right hand with its thumb, 1, 2, 3, the ring finger, middle finger, index finger, 12. I note this cycle with the thumb on my left hand. I repeat, noting the repetition with the index finger of my left hand. I repeat, middle finger, repeat, ring finger, pinky, 60, as the seconds and minutes of time created by the Sumerians. To think I was once told I was cheating using my fingers when adding and subtracting in math, not mentally solving the answers, all the while my hands were my computers. Before calculators, before handheld computers, before slide rulers, where now we are expected to use electronic devices to solve math problems, removing ourselves further from figuring the solutions in our heads. How ironic that we age and wear out is self-evident. The question is, at what speed? We relate to the mythological Sisyphus story, pushing the rock up the hill, a metaphor for life's struggle. As long as we push the stone, we are alive. We accept this as true. Life is hard. You deal with it. But no one talks about the angle of the hill. Why can't we lower the angle even to 1 degree or the slightest fraction thereof, lessening the friction, just as long as we keep pushing the stone up the hill, while becoming more conscious about becoming as frictionless as possible? It's all about attitude. If you do not consider chasing your vision quest as fun, you're chasing the wrong thing. Human contact, the scent of hormones, the depth of the eyes, the lilt of the voice, the spaces between words, the spaces between shared experience. How many of us have the courage, the willingness to still ourselves enough to hear the noise, reaching inside to create a hypothesis and then relentlessly investigate it so to bring it into fruition? Did you ever reach into your pocket and begin to panic because you couldn't find your keys? Agitatedly increasing the speed of fear and search from pocket to pocket, only to realize you've been holding on to them all the time? The gift of life can be as elusive in all its glory and splendidness, yet we don't see it, let alone embrace it, because we are too caught up in our material consciousness to allow only the immediate editorial in and not the ephemeral completeness of our awareness, which is around and through us and has always been there for our discovery and acceptance. Fear is the ultimate disease, exponentially rendering us completely impotent. There are diabolical predators out there whose sole ambition is to take away our innocence and dreams. Don't let them. Mount Hermon straddling the borders of Syria and Lebanon, where the fallen angels descended to earth. Anxiety, how in my nightmares I was chased until I turned around and chased the demons away to never return. Infinity, and though we can't see beyond the event horizon, the Bible infers beyond consciousness. Surely ignorance is limitless. But then again, the seeking of wisdom and truth is a never-ending pursuit. The one is coming. Apolitical, embodying only solutions and needing to be embraced. profits at whose expense? To the point we are no longer fit to defend our country, that we no longer know how to think because of all the garbage telling us what to think, that our infrastructure has been allowed to decay to dysfunction, that trust in our governance is no more than the knowing how we are no longer represented, and the stealing and corruption goes on, that we have no health care, which is an unalienable right, that we have destroyed our educational system and put our children into indentured servitude, that we have poisoned our food supply, empty of nutrients and full of causes of degenerative diseases, the wanton disregard of the natural world and destruction of it for fossil fuels, the continued perpetuation of war, the narrowed news cycles so not to tell what is happening around us. It is not a question of the inalienable right that all are entitled to the opportunity to better themselves and maximize their full potential, but to recognize excellence and synergy, which is the true ultimate currency and fundamental necessity to creating a functional, evolving society. Otherwise, one size fits all, and we devolve to the lowest common denominator. The Dark Ages all over again. The smug, treasonous corporate elite who are poisoning America, this corporate United States, killing the greatest utopian ideology ever created, America, ultimately angering the rapidly growing underclass to the point of the return of the guillotine and the eradication of the upper echelon 1% who have clearly brought this on to themselves. United, we are. To hear the press and statisticians tell it, we are so extremely polarized to the point of dysfunction. The fact of the matter is, we have never been more united in our feelings of betrayal and outrage. How the political system continues to prove indifferent to our needs, let alone provide candidates who are more about us than themselves and their re-election. How we are completely cynical of the press, how continually biased and misinformed they want to make us. How we are completely aware of how Wall Street is stealing from us. How corporations don't pay their fair share of taxes. How disproportionate the military budget is compared to our needs of self-defense, let alone how our taxes are being used to specifically spy on ourselves. How our honest, hard laborers are not being salaried at sustainable living wages, where most households now need both parents to bring in an income and still have problems paying the bills. How the destruction of our educational system is a clear act of treason. How non-for-profit healthcare in our country is an inalienable right. How, because of greed, the food industry is giving us such inferior produce full of preservatives and herbicides to prove injurious to our well-being, where 75% of all medical intervention is for maladies that didn't have to happen in the first place if we had eaten a better quality food, where we are the most obese nation in the world, which means more prone to type 2 diabetes, coronary vascular disease, and dementia, let alone how immunocompromised has become. how we're being incited for war, whether with some designated foreign entity or amongst ourselves in civil conflagration. That the corporate powers recognize a citizen is worth $45,000 to $50,000 a year profit, incarcerated, where though we represent 1/5 of the world's population, we incarcerate 25% of the world's population and have prisons on the stock exchange. Where the idea of abortion is repugnant, but not the intervention into a woman's reproductive rights beyond her own personal choice, obscene. Where more concern is for the unborn fetus and total disregard for the unwanted child is demonstrated by a failed foster care system and hungry penal system anxiously awaiting more profits. Where the police department has grown unhealthily into a paramilitary force. Where all of us are exhausted and so much in need of love and civility, not allowed to evolve to the maximum of our individual potential, worthy of respect, allowed to be a synergistic collaborator to the greater good. That these truths are self-evident for the people, by the people, and of the people, and shall not perish from the earth. That this moment is sacred for the next 7 generations. That life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are the highest aspirational ideals and the true wealth of any society. That profits for all will always be greater strength than the profits for the few. That the end game is rapidly approaching, where all will be lost. Yes, we are united more than divided. Last century, a war that did not have to happen embroiled the world. The ceasefire of Versailles was to prove not only the plan for the operational theater of war for the next 100 years, but the inevitability of World War II and the industrialization of murder on the highest satanic scale. 120 million souls perished, and that does not include the tens of millions who had died from the influenza pandemic. We now have cataclysmic weapons that will kill billions, as well as destroy most, if not all, of our precious biosphere. Fear also unites us. Let us pray that death does not. And, most importantly, we each have one vote. Thank you very much. Please join us. This is the Karpeles Library Manuscript Museum. I personally want to thank Dr. Karpeles, who is a brilliant soul of perpetuating literacy across this country. I really want to give out a specific shout out to the artistic director, Brian Dennison, one of the sweetest human beings you'll ever meet, whose whole life ardor is the perpetuation of literacy in this establishment which resides in Newburgh. I also want to give a shout out to my blessed colleagues for their literacy, heart, passion, and soul, and their genius to sculpt the expression of their true being through their language abilities. That's why all are welcome, because this is the true cosmic unity, aligning ourselves with creation itself. Please join us. Until next time, I'm Hayden Wayne. Thank you very much.